Hi guys, how's it going? Joe here. Welcome back to my shop. Got another little doodads for you. I got some tools to show you. Got some new mandrels, and I'm going to show you how I winterize my bike, which is now sleeping in my shed for the winter. And got an impact driver, and had a request from one of my viewers to show the ball turner, how I built it or put it together. So stay tuned and we'll show you some stuff. Thanks for watching. Okay, we got some new tools here. Got my original set of Char's expanding mandrels, which went from 1/2 to 7/8. And now I got the next bunch. These came off of Amazon, 7/8 to 1, 1 to 1 1/4, and this one's 1 1/4 to 1 1/2. And these have 2 sleeves on them to get to the full range. So, you know, the way these work is, you know, they're tapered, and you know, if you have a bore, and you can you know, put it in the bore, and then when you jam this in here, it'll like expand, kind of like an internal collet, and then it has center holes in it that you can turn between centers. So like if you're making a pulley or something, you can put it around here, put the blank around here and machine the whole thing out. So anyways, that will complete my set. Here's the whole set right here. Got another tool here. This is another Amazon tool buy. This is an impact driver, and what this does is it allows you to get screws and bolts and stuff out, or you know, it goes both ways. You can tighten them too. Here you can put a 3/8 socket on there, and this is an adapter for screwdriver bits. These are real good for getting out stock bolts and things. And basically what happens is you would hold this against the screw and then whack the end of it with a hammer, and it would apply a force pushing in and turning at the same time. They're real good for getting out like Phillips head screws, because you know, normally when you try to just turn a Phillips head screw, it'll try to jack out, but you know, when you whack this, it'll, you know, keep it from doing that and keep it from stripping the head off. Well, winter has come to Massachusetts, and my piloting weather skills tell me that the jet stream has shifted to the point where it's not going to be warm enough to ride anymore. So we put the mighty Honda to bed today for the long winter sleep. I got my little tractor moved into the shed here, and I got all my garden stuff in here, and this is where the Honda lives for the winter. And what I'm going to do is show you what I do to get it ready for the big sleep. I already changed the oil in the filter, and brought it down here to the shed. And what I'm going to do now is show you what I do to get it ready. I drain the float bowls, put some oil down the plug holes. This bike has a polymer battery in it, which supposedly is good for the winter, but you know, cost me $100, so it's cheap insurance to take it out of there. And then one other thing I do is, you see over here on the windowsill, there's 2 plugs, and those plugs go inside my exhaust pipes. And the reason for that is the mice like to live in there, and they go up inside of the exhaust. And when you start it up in the summer, it's a huge mess. So what those are is paint can covers that I've cut the outside off, and just coincidentally the inside fit perfectly inside of my exhaust pipes. So got to get a few wrenches going here, and we'll show you what goes on. Stand by. Okay, so first thing I do here, and you're not going to be able to see much of this, is I drain the carbs. And unfortunately, the way that this V-twin is, there's no real way to do this other than to put rags between the two cylinders and let it fly, because there's no place to put a hose on it, and just kind of, that's the way it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shove this rag in here, and then there's a screw right here that opens up a valve, and I'm going to undo it. Okay. And sometimes they get a little tight, so okay. So what's happening right now is gas is coming out of the front carb, front cylinder carb here. And I can see it coming out of the little thing there, and it's hopefully mostly going in this rag. And as soon as it stops, I'll close up that valve again. And then what I'll do is I'll go to the other side and do the same thing. Okay, just stopped. Now, some people like to just run them out of gas, but I don't like doing that because it leans out. You know, when the engine runs out of gas, it leans out, and that's not necessarily very good for it. So, see if I can get you a shot of the other screw here. I don't know how well this is going to show up, but okay. That screw is right there. That right there. And it just opens a little valve in the bottom of the float bowl, and the stuff drains out. So I shove a rag in here and open that. Okay, I'll be back to you when I finish that one. Okay, so I've drained the carbs. And what I'm going to do now is put some oil down the cylinder. So I'm going to take one plug out of each cylinder. There's two in each cylinder on the spike. So two of them, this one here and the one in the front on the other side, are buried way down inside the head. This one here and the one and the back one on this side are easy to get to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the two easy ones out, and to put one squirt of oil down each cylinder. Basically, you know, 1040 engine oil. Don't put a ton down there, just one squirt is good enough, Because after, what I'm going to do is just crank the engine a little bit, get it all sloshed around in there. If you put a ton of oil in there, you have the risk of hydrostatically locking the cylinder, which would be very, very bad. So 1 squirt. Hang on. Okay, so I've turned off the ignition switch. This will ensure that there's no spark. And I took out 1 plug out of each cylinder. This one was from the front cylinder. And you can see it's burning really good. Well, maybe you can, I don't know. This one is from the rear cylinder, and it's got a little oil ash on it. It's not bad, but you know, it's not bad for a 30-year-old bike, but it is you know, got a little blow-by going on there. So I'm not going to worry about it, but this will give you a good opportunity to assess what's going on in your engine. Anyway, so let me put the camera down and I'll do the squirt here. Okay. There's a spark plug hole. Yeah, right there. And I'm going to put 1 squirt of oil down there. Okay. Same over on this side. Right there. I'm doing this through the viewfinder of the camera, so 1 squirt. Okay. Now, I usually change my plugs once a year, so I'm going to just screw these in. Come on, baby. And you don't want to drop it because you might break it. Normally I wouldn't be doing this while I was holding the camera, so I'm kind of doing it by the braille method here. Alright, I can't get it started. Hang on. Alright, there we go. This is the little tool that comes with it to do the spark plugs. That's all you want to do. You don't want to wrench the hell out of these things and strip out the head. And then I put the boot back on just for safekeeping. Now we'll do this one. Okay. That's all you need right there. I'll put the boot back on. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank it. Now the ignition's off. I'm just going to crank it over just a little bit. Okay, now what that did is it splashed that oil all over the inside of the cylinder walls and, you know, down into the ring area on the top. And that's going to keep the cylinders from getting all screwed up. If one of the way a V-twin works is you will never have all the valves closed on both cylinders. So no matter what happens, one of these cylinders is going to be open to the atmosphere. There's no way of telling which one unless you take the, you know, the cover off and look at the crankcase. But what that does is it says, okay, if that cylinder is open to the atmosphere, you don't want, you know, condensation getting up in there into the cylinder past the valve and, you know, rusting up the piston wall and stuff, the cylinder wall. So that's just insurance to keep that from happening. The final thing that I'm going to do here now is take the battery out, and she'll go to sleep for the winter. I inflated the tires up to proper pressure, and I don't usually do anything with the coolant. You know, I changed the coolant like a couple of times over the life of this bike, probably 4 or 5 times. So it's good, you know, for way below zero, so I'm not going to worry about that. And then, oh, one other thing. I used to store this thing with a cover on it. And what I found is that basically is just a way for the mice to get up into it. They don't bother it when it's like this. But they climbed all over with the cover. So I don't put a cover on it. It's in a, you know, it's in a covered shed here. After I get the battery out, the final thing I'm going to do is just wipe down the wheels and the chrome and stuff with some WD-40, and that's it. She's ready for sleep. So that's about it. I'll show you taking out the battery. This battery was not designed for this bike, so I had to modify the battery box, and it's in there. It's in there good, but it's not stock, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so the battery is in here, and you get to it with 2 Phillips head screws. Okay. This battery is one of the best investments I've ever made on this bike. You know, the stock battery costs like $60. And this battery is like twice that much. Oh boy, this thing's tight. Come on, baby. Let me go get a socket wrench. Okay. There we go. But I don't know if this is true for all bikes, but this bike eats batteries. I don't know what, you know, whether they underrated it because of size considerations or what, but it used to take a Iwasa YB14B2, and every 2 years the thing would fail. I've had this thing in here for quite a while. It's an awesome battery. It works great. It weighs about 2 or 3 pounds, and it never craps out. Starts the bike up like you can't believe. So first thing I'm going to do here is disconnect the ground side. You always disconnect the ground side first, because if the ground is you could short it out to the chassis, and that would be not a fun day. So, just get this out of here. Yep. Help if you turned it the right way, Joe. Now, because this battery is not stock, it's kind of jammed in here in a weird way, so this is why I'm having to do this all cattywampus here. Okay, that was a nut on the back side of the terminal. Okay, so now the electrical system on the bike is dead, and I can work on the positive side without worrying about shorting it out. Alright, and there it is. This battery weighs, I don't know, maybe 2-3 pounds at the most. It's nothing. So what I typically do is put the hardware with the bike. These are the auxiliary wires are for a charging plug, which I never found the need for. The bike charging system keeps it charged up, but I put it in there anyways because when I bought the battery tender, it came with it. I may in fact just bag this next year because, like I said, it doesn't need it. Alright, there she is. Put this all back together, just finger tight, and that's it. That's it for the winterization, other than just putting some WD-40 on the chrome. So I hope this helped you. You know, if you have a bike, this is what I do to keep mine going. Spike's 1988 Honda Shadow VT800C, and by doing this every year, I think that's what's kept it going for so long without having any problems. So thanks for watching. Yeah, I've had a request here to show the actual construction of my ball turner. So here it is when it's set up on the lathe, and I'll take it apart for you and show you all the little pieces inside. First thing is, you saw me make this arbor. So there's the boring head with the tool in it, and here's the actual arbor that holds it. So I'll take you over to the bench and show you what's in here. Okay, so what's in here is, you know, I've got the handle, and this is what holds it up to the shaft. Now I've made a modification to this thing since I put up the video on it, and that was because of Curly. So that bolt comes out, and the modification is I had one keyway cut in here, but Curly had suggested that if I could turn the bore and head over, I could maybe cut with the lathe in reverse. And I actually did think about that, but after he made that comment, I came out here and checked it out, and it looks like it actually might be a better solution because of the way the tool geometry is. It might have pretty much a built-in chip breaker in it. So I cut this other keyway in here. Now what lines up with that keyway is a little dog point set screw that I machined out of a real set screw. Okay. So this handle can go on either this way or this way, and it's locked to the shaft. This is just a piece of that scrap steel I had laying around. It's stainless, and I drilled a hole in it at an angle, and this is a piece of that shaft that came out of my shock. I turned a ball for it. This was my first attempt, and I didn't quite have it set up right, so I ended up with this collar here, but I kind of like the way it looks, so I left it on there. And that just threads in here at an angle. Okay. This is the arbor. It's got the thread on it for the boring head, and fits in that boring bar block. It's got a little thread in the end for that bolt. So the way this goes together is like this. This goes in here like this. This goes on here tentatively like that. And then this bolt goes in, and I've set it up so when I tighten this bolt up all the way, there's a little bit of friction here to hold this handle wherever I want it to be. And the way I did that is I just kept shaving this down right here, this piece, until I got it exactly the way I wanted it as far as the friction goes. So, in operation, this sits on here like this. This goes on. And then do this. So this has to be on the center line, as I said before, and the way that happens is pretty much everything is back. My my compound isn't quite all the way back, but there you go. And the way I lined it up was put my center in here. I took this off of here. Okay, so the way I line this thing up is Loosen up my compound here. Set this thing down like this. Cranked it in. And I use the center hole right here to line up with the tailstock. And it goes right in there. Okay, now I know that this boring head is on the vertical center line of the lathe. So turn this back to my usual spot. Tighten up my compound again. Okay. Pull this back. Screw on the boring head. Okay, and I don't have a piece to put in here, but you can basically rotate this over the top of the piece, and when you're on the center line, by jacking this in and out like this, you can see where it starts cutting. And then to center it horizontally, what you do is you just move it back and forth and make sure that it's equidistant from each edge of the piece you're going to be doing. I found it useful to chamfer the ends of the pieces of the blank that you're going to be doing, and that way you don't have to cut, through the corners when you're going back and forth like this. Okay, so that's the scoop on this. Okay, and then the other thing is that this just lines up parallel or perpendicular to the ways. And when you do that, you get a nice round ball. So there you go. Okay, well, that's it for this episode of Doodads. Thanks for watching, and thanks to all my subscribers. I really appreciate the comments, the questions that you guys leave me, and if you want to, you can send me an email right there. Take it easy.